Amazing. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Cutback's first ever watch along. This is very exciting. Of course, you've joined us for the Subway Cup semi-finals. We've got two games tonight. So we've got two guests. We've of course got City taking on Chelsea at the Joy Stadium tonight, and then we've got Arsenal hosting Manchester United at Meadow Park. But these two guys have decided not to go to the games, but instead join us for a bit of a chat, bit of a watch along. It's the first one we've ever done, so this is a bit of a test for us, but we're hoping to do more throughout the season. So hopefully if you guys like it, you want to see more of it, and we can, keep changing as we go. So really excited to be with Max Radwan, who is our Arsenal writer at the Cutback, and Ishan Shah, who covers Chelsea for us as well. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Max, just as we kind of see the shots of Meadow Park now as the teams come out and everything, I wanted to kick off by asking you, what are the expectations for this game? Because we've had 2 0-0s between these sides so far this season. So I feel like we should be worried that it's not going to be a particularly exciting one.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the prospect of extra time, like we could even have 120 minutes of goals football tonight. But I do wonder if the fact that obviously it's an important game, it's a semi-final, but maybe, the League Cup not being a top priority for these teams, whether that sort of slight sense of the pressure being off, maybe in comparison to a league game, might allow both teams to play with a bit more freedom. And I think the other big factor as well is with the Arsenal lineup, 5 changes tonight from the side that played against Villa. And if you look at the back line as well, 3 of the 4 players starting in the back line, Taylor Hines, Northwood Moy, Lycadina, none of those players started the league game against United 10 days ago. So I think that's an interesting dynamic. Whereas if you look at the Manchester United team, I think it's a couple of changes from that team that took on Arsenal at the Emirates. So whether that changes sort of United's approach, if they feel that maybe against a rotational Arsenal 11 that they might have to go for it a bit more, I think that's one to watch. And yeah, just sort of thing of both teams knowing this has to be settled in some way tonight. I do wonder if that might bring out the attacking side of both teams. And I also think as well, the other thing is we're looking at Meadow Park right now is that could be a big factor of the conditions. Obviously, it's been a horrible rainy day, wet pitch, and obviously quite a smaller, tighter pitch than there is at the Emirates. So I think these are all little factors that I'm interested to see in terms of how it could play out tonight.
Yeah, as I'm watching this Meadow Park coverage, you can already see the raindrops on the camera, which is always a telltale sign that it's going to be one of those nights at Meadow Park. And actually, there was just an early chance there for Arsenal header that Fallon Tullis-Joyce saved. So early bit of action for Arsenal. I always think Arsenal do play well at Meadow Park. I think that's such a tight pitch. That I think there is a strong home advantage there. Even though actually a few seasons ago we did see United beat them in this competition, I think, at Meadow Park. Ishan, Max mentioned the changes there. All of the teams tonight have made tons of changes, which is, I guess, not surprising off the back of the FA Cup, but you've got 2 really strong squads, so maybe, it's more likely that we'll see rotation. But it's funny because I was trying to think about those changes as, okay, is this the manager saying, we feel like this isn't our most important competition, which maybe it isn't in the grand scheme of things. But I do think it's interesting. There are still very experienced players on both sides. I mean, you look at Arsenal's team that started, you've got a lot of experienced names there. But for Chelsea especially, it seems like it's been an opportunity for some players who are coming back from injury. Aggie Beaver-Jones in the squad tonight, which is big because they've really missed her, haven't they, Ishan?
Yeah, 100%. And I would even say Lauren James on the bench can be a game changer. We know how good she is. And it's just good to see her back, playing and in the matchday squad again. Again, having an option like Lauren James on the bench is probably a cheat code that not a lot of teams, have. But I think no matter what lineup Chelsea bring out, the expectation is always to win. And the depth in the squad is so good that that expectation doesn't change regardless of the lineup or the opponent that they're facing. And I think the expectation needs to stay the same tonight as well. Chelsea have a great record in the League Cup, at least with reaching the final, not with winning all finals that they reach, but they've reached the final in the last 6 years. So the expectation tonight remains the same, even though we don't have a great record at City Stadium. So it's going to be a really tough game. City are flying high. And I think this is going to be quite a great test for Chelsea as well, because they didn't have a great kind of start to the season and everything, even though they had a decent record, but they really picked it up towards the end of the winter break and coming off the back of the winter break. So I'm excited to see how they do. Like, this is their biggest test so far, so I'm excited to see how they do.
And we've also got the backdrop of the fact that Chelsea and Arsenal are playing on Saturday. So I do feel like that's kind of played a part in some of these changes. Like you said, Ishan, Lauren James on the bench. She's still sort of working her way back to full fitness, although we did see her get that kind of funny rebound goal the other day. So she's still kind of, playing her part in games. But it does feel like this season for Chelsea, Ishan, like we haven't yet maybe seen them at their best, which the Everton result is the biggest example of that. And that's because they were on this ridiculous unbeaten run and they lose and it becomes this big story. But actually it was more than just that game. There's been games where Chelsea haven't looked great, but as they always do, they kind of ride it out and still win. But have you felt that there's been a bit of a drop in their level this season?
Yeah, I think the prospect with what Chelsea can be is quite scary. This team has beaten Barcelona, beaten Man City, and remained unbeaten against Arsenal and Man United as well. And we're still talking about there's still levels to go. So I think the prospect is quite scary. It's just about getting not just the players fit at the right time towards the end of the season, and we know how good run in Chelsea can be. It's just keeping the players fit and then building the chemistry again. Sam Kerr has been building chemistry with players that she's never played with in her life, and Nuskin is coming back into the fold as well now, and we're seeing Lucy Bronze had picked up an injury earlier in the season. People are coming back, and they're getting back into their groove, and I think that's what's been exciting towards the end of the winter break and coming off the winter break as well, of like we're seeing this team now kick into another gear of like scoring goals and like dominating teams in the way that we're very used to seeing.
Yeah, Max, I've just been keeping one eye on Arsenal's first 5 minutes. It does seem like they are very much on top, and United feel like they are struggling to play out of their own half a little bit. Arsenal are pressing quite aggressively to try and create opportunities, winning the ball quite easily. I do wonder if United could be in for a long night, because we've seen what happened at the Emirates just a couple of weeks ago, where they were kind of parked in their own half and were kicking it long and not successfully really finding anyone in that game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like as much as the narrative around that game was understandably like Arsenal struggles in front of goal, I do think a big positive from that performance was the way that they were able to pen United in. And as you've said, I think we're seeing that intent right from the start here. And I do think that is probably one of the small advantages of playing at Meadow Park, is that out of possession, you can, if you're aggressive, you really can sort of get on top of teams. I think these conditions probably help that as well. Obviously, that's a double-edged sword, because Arsenal, they're playing out from the back, and just a nice move there where Mo's been released down the middle of the pitch. But obviously, when Arsenal playing out from the back, the conditions are going to be a problem for them. But I think, out of possession, I think it seems so far like a very similar show of intent as there was to the WSL game recently. The question tonight is, can they generate those chances? Can they put the ball in the back of the net?
And I suppose it took a bit of time against Villa in that FA Cup game for them to find that breakthrough as well. Ellie Roebuck did play her part in the first half, but I think tonight we have, Max, is that the lesser spotted Laia Cadena playing, who obviously hasn't really played a part, but Arsenal have some big injury issues because they've got Leah Williamson out at the moment, and she'd only really just come back having had surgery after the Euros. Are you a little bit worried about the defensive or lack of defensive depth at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, because I think in terms of depth of numbers, if you like, Arsenal, I think I'm fairly happy with where Arsenal are in that tonight, as you say, Leah Williams injured, Steph Catley's been rested on the bench, of course, Katie Reid out long term, and the fact that Adina, who probably hasn't had the best of times at Arsenal, and I'm not going to sit here and say like she's an amazing defender or anything, but Spanish international, has had runs in this team before where she's held her own, and I think if that's the level of player that you're bringing in as your sort of like fourth or fifth choice centre back, I think in reality it's hard to like get that really high quality depth when you're kind of like going to a player who isn't going to play that much. I think if Arsenal had like a top centre back they can bring in this scenario, that'd be great. But I think ultimately, this, as you say, I think this is only Kadina's third start of the season, and the better quality player you have in that situation, like it's going to be hard to keep them happy. So I'm not too worried about the actual numbers, but I think the concern would be that someone like Kadina is coming in, and if nothing else, because she hasn't played much football this season, you would expect a bit of rust there, and it's more of a case of how quickly she can sort of settle into the side. I think, I've heard of her. She's got Lotte Moy and Kate McCabe, and I think the latter, obviously one of Arsenal's most experienced players, someone who can probably be helpful for her. And on the other side, Moy, I think it's kind of got under the radar that I think she's actually had a solid season when she's kind of had a run of games and been playing consistently. So I think the hope there is that with those players around her, she can be okay. But yeah, you're always a bit worried about a player like that coming in and sort of dropping a spooky moment in the match.
I think it's hard for her as well. I mean, of all the Meadow Park's actually a pretty good pitch, we have to say, because they share it with obviously Boreham Wood, but as non-league pitches go, it's in pretty good shape. But I do think if you're a player like Adina coming in from the cold a little bit, Meadow Park, it's wet, it's windy. That is not a game that I want to be coming into cold. Isham, we haven't really talked yet about City Chelsea tonight. We're coming up to the 9th minute in that game, depending how. I think my stream is pretty much live on there. It kind of looks like of the bits of the match that I've been watching, that Chelsea have actually looked the better team in these first 10 minutes or so. Sandy Baltimore, who's had a tough start to the season, but she scored an absolute scream the other day. She had a shot that was blocked, but Chelsea look really comfortable. I guess the issue will be the fact that City have the sorts of players who can kind of punish you at any moment.
100%, and we almost just saw one of those moments with Bunny Shaw running in behind and kind of putting Millie Bright on the floor there, winning a corner for City, which Chelsea have defended quite well. And now it's a City throw, of course. But yeah, I think both teams have gained territory on each other in each other's boxes. There's been moments where something could have happened. Chelsea, obviously, with 2 early corners as well. One of the Sandy Baltimore shots blocked by Viv Miedema, potentially handball, but I'm not one for those kinds of handball situations. But it seems like already the pace of Alyssa Thompson and Sam Kerr, there is space in behind, and you can see why Sonia Bompas has gone with more of a 3-5-2 rather than a 3-5-3 in this game, to try and exploit that space in behind with Alyssa Thompson and Sam Kerr. But yeah, I would say Chelsea have been more dominant in the sense that they've looked more assured on the ball, but we know how good this City side is, and with the front three that they've got, I would definitely be wary if I was Chelsea's backline.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because it feels like a very different City team that Chelsea are facing tonight than who they played on that opening weekend when they did win. And City were only sort of just, it was their first league game under new manager, Andre Eglerts. And there are a couple of changes that he maybe early changes that he could have made in that game where I think it was Greenwood who was really struggling against Ellie Carpenter, and he kind of probably should have made that tactical switch earlier, didn't. But that's another game in a couple of weeks, which is at the Etihad, where Chelsea are going to be playing City in the WSL, which feels like just the absolute ultimate, title decider, really. Because if Chelsea lose that game, you'd imagine that is probably it for the WSL title. But tonight is a nice warm up to that. But for City, they've got. I was just having a look now. On the bench, they've got Iman Benny. They've also got, Miedemar starting tonight. So they've still got a little bit of firepower to come on. But Chelsea's bench, like we mentioned earlier, is absolutely stacked. They've got Guro Wrighton, Johanna Ritter-Carried, Aggie Beaver-Jones, Lauren James. So it's going to be interesting how both teams kind of navigate this one. Max, just looking at the Arsenal game, the camera lens is already struggling under the weight of the rain. United just with a really good chance, but you can just about make it out. But Annika Borg looks like she's made the save there, but I was struggling to see it. If I have to admit. So whoever's on the rain looks really bad there.
It's kind of WSL almost. Women's football. English women's football heritage, having the person scrubbing the camera at Meadow Park sort of intermittently.
Oh, absolutely. I can't remember what the game was. I mean, there's been some bad ones at Kings Meadow as well, but I can't remember what the Meadow Park one was, where the hand of God kept appearing and wiping the camera lens. There's a corner coming up, I think. Looks like a corner for Chelsea at the moment in that City game. I'll just quickly keep an eye on that. It looks like it's gone out for another corner. But Max, I wanted to ask you about Arsenal's midfield, because that's been another discourse for the season. We've got Victoria Pelova starting tonight, which is obviously a rotation, but she, hasn't yet found her stride again post ACL injury, which is, gutting for a player who before her injury was looking like potentially, a massive miss of a piece of the missing puzzle for Arsenal. But tonight, Renee Slegers has gone for Pelova and Caldente, and then Marnham playing in that number 10 role with Russo ahead of her and Ford and Smith as the wingers. What do you think is the issue in that midfield? Because we've seen Slegers make changes and try and change it. She hasn't got Cooney Cross at the moment, obviously for, tragic personal reasons for her, but she still doesn't quite know what the best solution is, I feel like.
No, and again with Pelova, it's almost a similar conversation to the one we were having about Cadena, that again, she's coming in pretty cold in a match where, ideally you want to have a bit of rhythm coming into the game. I think, with her, it's really unfortunate because, like you say, before her ACL a couple of seasons ago, she was playing so well. And I have to say, even in the summer at the Euros, she looked like a sort of a bright spot in an otherwise poor Netherlands team, and I was quite hopeful that she might sort of have a bit of a renaissance this season. But it's not panned out that way. In terms of this midfield pairing specifically, I think the last time we saw Mariona and Pelova in a double pivot was that Chelsea game. And that did not go well in terms of how Arsenal were doing in the match when those two were on the pitch together in midfield. So to go back to the wide question about whether Renée Slegers knows her best midfield, I mean, I think, you obviously mentioned Kyra Cooney-Cross there. And obviously, like, as you say, like awful circumstances in which that means she's not available. I think before Christmas, that midfield of Cooney-Cross, Little, and Mariona further forward definitely looked like Arsenal's most balanced midfield in terms of the current players available. The more interesting question, I guess, is like, what does Renée Slegers want in the long term? There are lots of reports linking Arsenal with a move for Georgia Stanway in the summer that would suggest that this double pivot model is here to stay. which I find interesting in of itself, because I would like to see at some point a transition to more of like a single pivot six with a couple of eights, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But I think what we've seen this season is you take one of the key pillars out of Arsenal's midfield, like Kim Little when she missed some games in November, like Kyra Cooney-Cross now, and suddenly it feels like everything just almost falls apart a little bit. And yeah, I mean, in the league game, it was Little alongside Mariana with Marnham in the 10. And obviously, that was the midfield that won Arsenal the Champions League. But I think Frida Marnham's performances this season have been. I think she's coming for a bit of criticism, and I think that's probably fair on balance. I think she's very much a player who can blow hot and cold. So yeah, no, it feels like basically with Arsenal's midfield, the foundations are very shaky. That, you know, if they in their ideal 11, there's a good midfield they can put out, but you take one of those pieces out, be it Kim, be it Kyra. Fortunately, Mariana has had a good fitness record since she's joined Arsenal, but you dread to think where they'd be without her. So yeah, it just feels like the foundations of that midfield are a bit shaky in terms of the depth.
Yeah, as you were just speaking, Max, Frida Marnham had a good chance. So I thought it was going to be one of those egg on your face commentary moments. Liv Smith doing really well to kind of break free and ride a few challenges, which she's so good at doing that. And then Marnham kind of couldn't really make good contacts and spin away and get a shot off. Arsenal have now got a corner off the back of that. I mean, when you're watching this game, you can see what the wind is doing to this rain. Absolutely. It just looks absolutely horrible out there. But were you surprised to not see Smilla Holmberg start? Because I know a lot of fans have kind of been excited about the minutes they've seen from her already.
Yes, I was. And if you look at her first couple of appearances so far, both on the bench, but she had a real impact in the league game against United, and obviously was on the pitch for much longer at the weekend against Villa. And I think what's really interesting with Holmberg is she provides an interesting sort of alternative to Emily Fox. Fox, someone who generally prefers to sort of go into the interior lanes and not your sort of traditional overlapping fullback, whereas Holmberg's a bit of a throwback in that sense, that she will just get her head down, get down the wing and go. And I think if you look at the way Arsenal are playing tonight against United, loads of dangerous chances already from crosses, from getting down the wing, like that Marnham chance you mentioned, where it comes from Smith taking on her opponent and pulling the ball back. So you do wonder if Holmberg was on the pitch as well, if we'd be seeing that to an even greater effect. So yeah, I am a bit surprised that she hasn't started this match. I mean, we don't know. I mean, maybe that's with an eye to playing her against Chelsea on the weekend. Who knows? But I do think Taylor Hines is someone who I've been kind of positively, who comes in for instead of Holmberg tonight, is someone who I've been sort of positively surprised by her performances so far. That was, I'd say on paper, that was a signing that I wasn't too sure about. But again, I think she adds, I think with Arsenal's fullbacks at the moment, they all have different qualities. And I think the good thing about Hines is her versatility, but also she's very comfortable stepping into the midfield. And yeah, just having that player who can play on both sides, especially when she's playing on the sort of weaker foot side, I think kind of opens up interesting dynamics. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting selection for sure, but I guess it shows you the depth at fullback that Renee Segers has available to her at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, we just saw Liv Smith get down that right-hand side, get in behind. I mean, there's been 5 or 6 opportunities already. And then when United get the ball, they're struggling to put that many passes together. And I think it's quite hard for them to hold on. But it looks like Ellen Vangerheim's got the ball on the edge of the box there. But we had a break-in injury at the Joy Stadium because Lauren Hemp accidentally or got a bit of a Lucy Bronze boot and went down. And then we had some Usain Bolt shots in the crowd. So he must be there watching Bunny Shaw, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just before that Lauren Hemp injury, Bunny Shaw had a golden chance where Millie Bright tried to, I don't know, kick a very high kick, a long ball, and completely missed it. And Hannah Hampton was stranded in kind of no man's land. And Bunny Shaw pretty much had an open goal to put the ball into. And Sandy Baltimore, thankfully, was there to apply some pressure. And yeah, Bunny Shaw missed a pretty good chance, probably the best chance of the game so far. And you've really seen a shift in energy over this last 10 minutes where City are more comfortable on the ball. They're asserting themselves as the home side and really showing how much this game means to them. I think from their lineup, if you look at the two lineups, clearly it means a lot to City this game, because this is probably their best available 11 that you could field, and they've really started playing like it in the last 10 minutes, where they've clearly gone up a gear, and that chance has only given them more confidence, and you see them even now dominating possession and really pinning Chelsea back, where Chelsea haven't really been able to find that outball to Sam Kerr or Alyssa Thompson in behind that I was speaking about earlier. So nervy moments for Chelsea.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of desperate clearances happening on my screen below. I want to talk about Millie Bright, Isham, because she's someone that I think when you think about the noise of the Chelsea fan base, she's a player this season who has received a lot of that noise because there's been a worry about her drop in performance, and there's been games where Sonia Bonpastor has opted not to start her. She's obviously the club captain, so she carries that responsibility and that leadership role. But there are kind of question marks, I think, about her Chelsea future. Where do you sit on that? Do you think there's still a very important need for her in this team?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a need for her in this team. It kind of reminds me back in 2017 when John Terry was kind of fading away past his prime, playing in the back three under Antonio Conte, and you could really see that the legs had gone. But Millie Bright is club legend, WSL legend, just women's football legend in general, and she brings so much leadership to this team in terms of every player who comes in always speaks highly of her and her leadership and how she kind of helps them settle in. And I do think there is still space for Millie Bright in this team. I don't think she gets into Chelsea's best starting 11 when they are fit, whether they're playing a back four or a back three. But I do think she still has a lot to offer. There's so much talk about her contract lately as well. Obviously, contract up in the summer. Will she renew? Will she stay? If you watch her podcast, there's also a lot of speculation that doesn't, lessen any of the speculation. I feel like there have been hints of like either retirement or leaving Chelsea. So there is a lot of noise around it. I do think that she offers so much just from a leadership standpoint, where Chelsea's backline really lacks it at the moment. When you see Naomi Gomez new, and then Khadija Buchanan injured, Natalie Bjorn, the two most experienced real centre backs. I'm not counting Lucy Bronze in that because I don't think she's a natural centre back, even though she's been playing in there in a back three. But yeah, Millie Bright is what she offers off the pitch is so intangible and so important. I think that you just give her another 1-year extension potentially. I think she has a clause in her contract where there is an extension available, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see whether she feels it's the right move for her, and also if the club feels like it might be time to move on, because I will say the legs have gone.
Max, got to come to you because there was a Manchester United penalty shout. We haven't had a replay yet. My initial thought is not sure. Obviously, ref's only going to see it in real time. I want to see a replay, but it was a challenge from Lotte Moy on Elizabeth Turland. Turland did well actually to kind of like create space and move away from the first challenge that came in. And then she got chopped down as she tried to cut the ball back across. Do you think Arsenal got away with one there, Max?
So my first thought in real time, I was waiting for the referee to point to the spot. It was one of those. But I don't know if that's just me,
Oh, so it's actually McCabe.
Oh.
It's McCabe who, I'm just watching the replay now. So Turland, Wubbenmoy comes sliding in, misses completely, and then McCabe sort of knocks Turland down. But actually on the replay, I don't think it's a pen. I don't think there's enough contact for me there for a pen, because it's McCabe kind of has her arms up like this, which often is the sort of telltale guilty sign, but she's almost moving out the way as Turland comes across her. So I don't think that's enough for a pen for me.
Yeah, I'm just saying the replay now. I think my feed's slightly behind, but
oh, you just went on mute. I'll unmute him. Oh no, Max, we lost you. Oh,
he's hiding from the penalty.
Yeah, he can't take the heat.
Come on, ref.
He can't take the heat. I think you're off mute. Can you hear? I'm not sure we can hear you though still. Oh no, we lost you. Ishan, I don't think you haven't got that game on, have you? So you probably wouldn't have seen the pen shout. But I personally didn't think it was a penalty. But I'll let Max. Oh, we can sort of hear you, Max. It sounds like you're okay. Sort of. Oh, there you go. We got you. We got you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I wasn't ducking the question there, I promise. No,
it was your way of saying no penalty.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it looks that it is because of the way the player actually reacts. But yeah, I had to admit my heart was in my mouth in real time, but I think the referee's got that one right. So fair play. I think that's, in real time, a difficult call to make either way.
Yeah, I think she's done well there, to be honest. Obviously, United and Turland are not happy with the decision, but I think it was the right call. And actually, United have looked better in these last 5 minutes or so, because they are finding a bit more of a rhythm and playing through the Arsenal press with a little bit more success, rather than just kind of hoofing it long, which we saw in that Emirates game. The best chance was that early Vangerheim header from United. That's the only chance they've really had. And then this penalty shout, which I think we agreed it wasn't much of a penalty. But it's been all Arsenal really outside of that. Ishan, I'm just having a look at the City-Chelsea game now. Chelsea still absolutely under the cosh. Sandy Baltimore is having to do sort of like, flying karate clearances in the air to keep City at bay. Alex Greenwood's got another. She just had one after that bronze on hemp challenge, but she's got another free kick on the edge of the box. This one's a little bit closer in a slightly nicer position. So I wonder if Chelsea will be a bit worried here that she might whip this one in. But it's been a tough kind of 15 minutes or so. I feel like Chelsea will be wanting half time soon, Ishan.
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about this free kick because we know what kind of a left foot Alex Greenwood has. This is definitely in her range. I thought it was a little soft free kick, but let's see what comes out of it. But yeah, City definitely dominating. Sandy Baltimore doing some really good defending and clearing her lines there. But yeah, Chelsea just can't get out. Like City are pressing really high and really well, where Chelsea just have no out ball but to kick it long back to a City player. And that's what they've kind of been struggling with. So I think that they're losing the midfield battle clearly at the moment, where they just don't have any options to pass to. So it'll be interesting whether Sonia waits until halftime to make any tweaks, or tries to make some tweaks in that midfield right now. Straight in the wall.
The free kick went in the wall in the end, and then Hasegawa had a ambitious volley attempt on the follow up that ended up going out for a goal kick. Yeah, what do you make in general of Sonia Bonpastor's problem solving, Isham? Because it was something that Emma Hayes came under a lot of criticism for, sometimes panicking when she's trying to solve problems. But I think Sonia Bonpastor, what we've seen of her in her season and a half at Chelsea, is she's brilliant at setting up teams. The game, like plan A, is almost so successful that she actually rarely needs a plan B. But what do you think in a situation like this? How good do you think she is at tweaking things when she needs to?
Yeah, I definitely think Emma Hayes was more like tweak things for the second leg of games and it'd be really good, but in game management, not as good. I do think Bompasta is better at that. But also, every Chelsea manager has resources that probably other teams don't, where it may not always be the tactics that changes things, but just personnel and just, star power that they have and that they can bring on off the bench. But at the same time, yeah, we've just seen Ellie Carpenter make a great run down the wing, and Chelsea still have that, so like plan A still might work. It's just, football goes through like, periods, and Chelsea probably dominated the first 10, City have dominated the next at least 13, and hopefully at least Sonia Bompasta will be hoping that the players can execute what plan A is just a little bit better and find those tight passes in midfield that they've been misplacing, or be more accurate with their long balls, and hope that Sam Kerr can make something stick, and things like that, because clearly that is a plan and a tactic that they're using, and a tactic that Emma Hayes often used when she was playing with Sam Kerr, especially against big teams. There is so much space, so if Sam Kerr can make something stick, lay it off to one of the midfielders, and Alyssa Thompson running in behind, clearly that is a plan because of how close they're playing against each other and how much we're seeing them kind of make those runs and the ball going into them so often. Like even right now, Hannah Hampton's kicking long rather than going short, just because of how much Chelsea have struggled to play out from the back and get past City's midfield. So yeah, if some of those long balls stick, Chelsea could be very easily 1-0 up at halftime, and maybe plan is working at that point.
Well, yeah, looking at that midfield as well, I mean, she's put up a pretty stacked central midfield, because she's opted to play Nuskin, Captain, and Cuthbert. Usually she goes to that kind of double pivot of Cuthbert and Captain, but sometimes Captain plays further ahead in that number 10 role. But maybe it's ending up a little bit too narrow for Chelsea, and that's why they're kind of struggling to progress. I think the bonus of having someone like Nuskin is she can cover so much ground. She can kind of go box to box, but she can also crash the box and get off, shots and chances. But everyone just looks a little bit rushed. We just saw Nuskin there take a swipe at something. She actually had time on the ball. She didn't need to panic. She could have chosen her pass properly. Just feels like a little bit tense at the moment, which is kind of surprising to see with the quality that Chelsea have. Oh, that's a bit of a dodgy pass from Nuskin there. Yeah, everyone just looks a bit frantic on my screen at the Joy Stadium. I don't know if you feel that way, Ishan.
Yeah, we've got a little Kira Walsh-sized hole in midfield at the moment where, you mentioned a lot of the traits that the players have, but the one trait that I would say neither of these players has is being able to control the tempo and play those threaded passes in between the lines and things like that. We've also seen a different midfield setup, I would say, where with Kira, she is, sitting constantly. And here you have Nuskin kind of as the 8 and Captain as more of a 10, like more advanced. So it's like Cuthbert sitting in the middle as a 6, and then those two. So I think the spacing in between them, with maybe Captain's too high up or not close enough to Erin when she's got the ball, and same with Nuskin as well. And again, it just goes down to neither of these players have that skill set that Kira Walsh does and she's probably one of the best in the world at that skill set as well, of just being able to compose everyone around her and help the team build up and move forward. They probably also haven't been able to use their centre backs as well either, in terms of either driving up the pitch or playing those threaded passes as well, just because the City press has been so resilient that they just haven't had any time, or every time they do, they will either go back to Hampton, who will go long, or they'll just go long themselves. So I think that's where they've struggled most. They were Cuthbert has probably been too isolated and there haven't been enough open passing options.
Yeah, just having a look at the Arsenal game as well. Really good bit of defensive work from Laia Kadina. Pass was played into Ellen Wangerheim, who was through on goal, and Kadina managed to get her body around and get the ball and hold off Wangerheim, which was pretty impressive given, she was kind of behind the ball as she did it. So credit where it's due for that one. And Max, I don't know if you saw Arsenal have put out a tweet saying that Cara Cooney-Cross is in attendance tonight, which is obviously really nice to see. So she travelled to Australia to be with her family, but it looks like she's back in London then at the ground tonight. So we're coming into the last 8 minutes or so of these first half, both games 0-0. So not absolute classics. And if it stays like this, we're going to be here all night, really, because League Cup, it's going to be extra time and penalties if it stays like this. So we'll see what happens there. But it's been like chances in both games. It hasn't been the sort of super dull 0-0s in either game, but nothing separating either or any of these sides at the moment. Just having a look at what Chelsea are doing right now, but it looks like there's a bit more calm on the ball because City aren't actually pressing them that aggressively. They're giving a little bit of time and space, but it's just a little bit.
They've been able to progress the ball a lot better over the last 5 minutes. And they're actually getting up the field now and passes are sticking. So again, like this game has been so far into 2 periods where Chelsea have dominated the beginning, City have dominated possession in the second half, and so far in the 30 to 40 minute mark, Chelsea have been kind of the better side. But again, no clear-cut chances for the Blues yet, whereas City did have that big one with Bunny Shaw.
Yeah, and Max, just looking at how the last sort of 10 minutes or so have gone for Arsenal, have you been surprised, disappointed, frustrated at how they've sort of petered out a little bit in the end of this first half?
Well, I think it's interesting that United seem to have settled into the game. Just as I'm watching now, nice bit of play from Wujo to sort of turn away from pressure. So I think, I think my sort of first thought would be to sort of credit United, because I think it is difficult when a team comes and presses. And I think this sort of game where one team's trying to pen another team in and the other one's actually trying to football and not sort of hoof it away, I think as a neutral makes for better viewing, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when a team plays like a really kind of high octane style out of possession. You do feel like you have to capitalize on the moments where you are on top, because I think it's very hard for 90 minutes, potentially for 120 minutes, to just be pressing a team high. And I think the interesting thing with these games as well is that they can be so tactical. So,
we've got a goal, Max. We've got a goal in the City-Chelsea game. I guess probably you could say against the run of play. Vika Kaptein has headed in from a Chelsea corner. It was a little bit clunky, not the best defending from City, we have to say. But Chelsea get the goal, and City will be really frustrated about that because they've kind of been perfect up to this point. They hadn't really conceded any good chances, but it's played short, and then Baltimore plays the cross back in, and it was a great cross and a good header. But she's completely unmarked. It looks like it's Rose that loses her, and Yamashita's kind of underneath it and can't get to it. So yeah, Ishan, that's massive because it didn't look like it was going that way in the first half.
I don't know what you're talking about. Plan A is working perfectly. Everything is fine. But this is what we were saying. We have players that can hurt you in an instant. Sandy Baltimore, what a cross from her wrong foot as well. Pinpoint in such a dangerous area where you just need to get ahead on it, and it's going on the back of the net, and that's exactly what Captain did. But yeah, against the run of play for sure, over the last like 15-20 minutes, and City will be definitely ruining their missed chance with Bunny Shaw as well. So yeah, if this goes into halftime at 1-0, City will definitely be very disappointed, and Chelsea should consider themselves a little lucky as well, where we haven't really created any clear-cut chance yet. But that's been the biggest chance of the game.
Yeah, massive. And you feel like for City, given they're not in the Champions League this season, getting a trophy like the League Cup, which they have had recent success in, obviously lost last season's final. You'd think they would, and they played well in that final actually, and were unlucky to lose it. But you'd think they would really want to try and win this. Oh, another really dangerous corner just came in that Yamashita sort of scrambled, but it got cleared in the end. But yeah, you'd think they really want to win this one. And Yeglitz has played a very strong team. But I think in the second half, we're going to see them really try and push to find an equaliser. But they're struggling with these set pieces because it looks like Chelsea are going to go for, I was going to say long throw, but it was pretty flat and short from Naomi Goma. It wasn't a very long one. But those corners and those crosses are really causing problems. Yeah, very positive for Chelsea, Ishan.
Yeah, they definitely have the physical advantage and height advantage in those set pieces. I think that's what you get when you play like Nuskin and Captain in midfield, and you have someone like Millie Bright and Naomi Goma and stuff in the box. So definitely causing problems and really targeting Yamashita there with those corners, like putting the crosses really close to her, trying to make sure that either she's making a save or making a mistake. So that's definitely a tactic from Chelsea that they're employing. But I think what's really crucial for City in this game is the psychological battle more than anything else. Like losing to this Chelsea side twice, even though you're 6 points clear, we know how good Chelsea can be in the run in again. And with that big game coming up in a couple of weeks as well, like this, if they lose here, that'll be such a big psychological effect on them and on the manager as well. Having lost to Sonia Bompastor twice. So I think that's something that is probably, on their minds, or will be on their minds if the result holds and things like that, more than, getting League Cup silverware, just because of the position they're in the league. Like they are 6 points clear and cruising and don't look like they're going to slow up anytime soon. But if there's one team that can cause a big dent in that, it's this Chelsea team. And this is, they've just scored that goal and being like, okay, yeah, we're here. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's the individual quality that they have. 2 minutes of added time going up at Meadow Park. Alessia Russo just had a free kick, but it was in a bit of a tough position because it was so front on goal, which if you're trying to get, put a direct free kick in a dangerous area is actually quite a tough position to be in. And I wouldn't say Russo is maybe especially known for her free kicks, ended up going quite far over the North Bank, Max.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see her take it?
Well, I was just going to say, I think, like you say, from that range, I think it's quite hard to get the ball up and down, which I think is probably something that Mariona would be better at doing. So I can kind of understand the logic of giving it to Russo, so you have someone who can just drive the ball keeper side and try and beat the keeper with power. But obviously, when you do that, you run the risk of doing exactly what Russo did, which is passing it over the bar. But good to see Arsenal applying a bit more pressure to United, who had definitely settled into the game in the last sort of 10 minutes or so. But I think this game is really nicely poised actually for the second half. And like, I know it's another goals half of football between Arsenal and Manchester United, but like, I think it's been a very watchable half of football. And yeah, we'll see.
Well, we've just had a goal, Max, at Meadow Park. As you were saying, it was so perfectly poised. United have found the breakthrough 30 seconds before the halftime whistle, which, given Arsenal's early pressure, is a hell of a gut punch. And it is a bit of a bobbly pass from Laikidina. Bob doesn't deal with it very well, spends too much time on the ball, plays it back into, I think that might be Cadena, who then gets, it looks like Mariona, who can't control it. it's stolen and Elizabeth Turlan puts it into the back of the net. So yeah, that is concerning for Arsenal, given how they started in the first 20 minutes. And United, from that pressure, from the last sort of 10, 15, they started pressing Arsenal a bit more aggressively, probably sensing a bit of weakness in that back line. You've got, obviously a young keeper in Borb, someone who hasn't played tons of football this season in Kadina. And they get something for that as well. So massive.
Yeah, I mean, the irony really, we were talking earlier about, pressing high and playing out from the back in these conditions, and early on in the game, that was something that Arsenal were benefiting from with United turning over the ball. But I think this just shows that these conditions can be a bit of a double-edged sword. And I think in that scenario, Annika Bobb's been really good since she's come into the team. So it's disappointing to see her make that mistake. I think there she's just got to put her foot through the ball, because you could maybe question the choice of pass from Kadina, but when Borb gets the ball, she has plenty of time, and you can see her kind of hesitate. Maybe you could question the movement around her, but that's a really high risk pass she plays into Mariana, who's immediately swarmed by a couple of United players. So I think it's really disappointing for Arsenal, because it had been such a strong performance, and to shoot themselves in the foot like that, I think is after the way they've played in this first half, is frustrating. But look, at least we finally got a goal in an Arsenal-Manchester United fixture this season.
Very true. And Ishan, I saw you with your hands on your head, because City somehow didn't manage to equalise. Viv Miedemar hitting the post, and it was a proper calamity at the back for Chelsea. Ball comes over the top. Hannah Hampton tries to rush out to it, misses it. The ball pops out to Viv Miedemar. She strikes it. It looks like it's about to go in, but it bounces off the post and sort of in front of the line, and Chelsea managed to clear. Again, another let-off. And it feels like it's going to be one of those nights for City where they're just not going to be able to score these chances that are being laid on a plate.
Yeah, I don't want to say that too soon, but yeah, Chelsea very lucky to go 1-0 into the halftime. Miedemar, great chance. And for the second time, we've seen Hannah Hampton come for a ball and rush and, completely miss it, which leaves pretty much an open goal for City to put the ball in the back of the net. And for the second time, they've missed it. One thing I will say about Miedemar is she, just moments before, she was a little sick and kind of not went down, but was feeling something. And then we saw a shot of her go straight down the tunnel at halftime, kind of holding her stomach. So maybe that played a little part. I'll take it. But yeah, no, Chelsea definitely can't get too comfortable. They've done so well to hold on and, be 1-0 up at this point. Again, I think they dominated from 35 minutes to 45, but again, City's so good that they can even hurt Chelsea at any instant, and we saw that. It was just a ball over the top to Bunny Shaw, who did really well to lay it off to Miedemar, and yeah, just needed that final touch, which City have lacked so far.
Yeah, Miedemar running down the tunnel. She was the first off the pitch. So, like you say, Ishan, doesn't look right. And I wonder if we might see a change at halftime. People would have seen how she didn't take part in the warm-up on the weekend in the FA Cup, but did come on and score twice. So that is still the magic of Viv Miedemar. Max, we'll get your overall halftime thoughts, and then Ishan, we'll get yours after. So now is your chance, Ishan, to grab a drink or go for a wee on your tea break while we chat to Max. Max, surprising to see Arsenal go in 1-0 down at the break, especially after really aggressive first 20 minutes when they created some really good chances, especially through Liv Smith down that right-hand side. Do you expect to see any changes in the second half? Do you think they should kind of just stick to what they're doing? How do you see halftime playing out?
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, I think Arsenal shouldn't be too disheartened by their overall performance in that first half, because it was a really strong start. I think what you've seen here is the importance on capitalising on your momentum, because as we've been saying, United had grown into the game, and then they score and they go ahead. In terms of the subs, I do wonder if we will see the aforementioned Smilla Holmberg at some point, just because United have looked so weak defending the wide areas tonight, and you do feel maybe a player like Holmberg on the pitch that's something Arsenal can maximise even more if you've got Liv Smith going down the right with Holmberg overlapping outside. That could potentially be a bit of a weapon for Arsenal. Of course, the other player on the bench that you always hope to look to would be Stina Blackstenius, who has a great goal scoring record in this competition, good scoring record off the bench, and obviously had an impact on the weekend scoring. And actually, I thought had a really good cameo when she came on against United in the league game. So yeah, I think Arsenal have options from the bench at least. So what I'd like to see in the second half is just that intent they showed in the first sort of 20-25 minutes. And I do understand that it's difficult to keep that up over 90 minutes. And as I say, I think a bit of credit has to go to United for weathering that storm. But if Arsenal can kind of regain that momentum, that would be nice. I think we've also mentioned a couple of sort of soft factors here, like the wind, the direction of the wind, and even the fact that Arsenal attacked the North Bank in the first half and now attacking the South Stand with the Manchester United fans. Probably a bit annoying that the ends have been switched in that sense for Arsenal to sort of build momentum. But yeah, I think they've just got to go again, really, basically, this is another example of why just putting the ball in the back of the net is so important, because if Arsenal capitalise on one of those chances early in the game, we're talking about this match differently. But in terms of the Arsenal approach, I think the first sort of half an hour or so of the game is the blueprint that Arsenal have got to return to if they can. But they do have options off the bench. Should have mentioned Kim Little as well, another player who I'm sure Rene will look to at some point. So yeah, I think it's still an interestingly poised second half, despite the fact that it is in fact not 0-0 at the break, but 1 to United, which I seemed to jinx a couple of minutes before half time. But yeah.
Well, I wonder when we will see Stina time come in, because you feel like she's going to look to her probably around the 60-minute mark. Because like you say, we've seen her score some iconic goals in this competition. So you wouldn't be surprised if they bring her on. All right, Max, go grab yourself a drink. Go to have a comfort break. And I want to talk to you later as well about Arsenal wasted chances this season, because it's something you've written about. When I was looking the other day, like 3 or 4 times on the Cutback this season. So I feel like we should get into that tonight. Ishan, I feel like opposite for Chelsea tonight. They've massively got away with it. Multiple scrambling chances. Bunny Shaw with a huge chance she should have taken. Viv Miedemar with that one at the end of the first half that hits the post. They spent a lot of that first half under the cosh, desperate big clearances, struggling to really get control. And then there was a bit of a point towards the end of the first half where I think City just sat off them a little bit, and that allowed them a bit more time on the ball. And then they come up with that goal with Vika Kaptein heading in, and again, poor defending from City. But I guess Sonia Bonpastor will be happy with the first half because they scored, but definitely not happy with the defending.
Yeah, she'll be happy with the result, but not the performance so far. I think something City have really targeted is the space in behind Chelsea's defense and the lack of speed in that back three with Lucy Bronze and Millie Bright especially. I feel like City's best chances have come at a time where Chelsea have been dominating, where we saw that Bunny Shaw chance, which came right after Chelsea's dominant spell, which then turned the tables towards City. Because of how high Chelsea defend, there's so much space for kind of her to run into. And even that second chance that Miedema had, where Chelsea were dominating those 10 minutes, and then there's just a ball over the top again, and Millie Bright doesn't deal with it properly. Hannah Hampton, causing herself all sorts of problems. And yeah, thankfully, I guess City not taking those chances but I mean, it's something that they will be kind of talking about at halftime right now of like, we just need to start taking our chances and we're completely in this game. Like, there's nothing from Chelsea's defense so far that has showed that they can keep a clean sheet in this game from any of the back three and the goalkeeper. So City will definitely be looking at that defense being like, how can we put even more pressure on them.
Where do you stand, Ishan, on the Chelsea back three, back four debate? I think you've written about it on the Cutback. It's something we've spoken about a lot. Sonia Bonpastor wants the back three to work, and there's times where it has worked. But what do you think is the best option for Chelsea?
Yeah, I think the back three might be the way to go when everyone is fit. It's just where we've not been in a position this season so far where everyone has been fit. There's always like one misfit, at least in this case, obviously being Millie Bright so far today. But in a back three of Naomi Goma, Natalie Bjorn, Lucy Bronze, or even Khadijah Buchanan with Carpenter, Sandy Baltimore as wingbacks, like I think that is the best way for Chelsea. But I don't see how we get that this season, at least. So while Bompasta has been really proactive sometimes in terms of not proactive, but like she has been very open to changing the system and continues to go between a back three and a back four, whether that's in possession, out of possession, or completely different formations in games. That's been nice to see in terms of she is also realizing that, this probably isn't the best personnel for a full back three, but clearly she wants Chelsea to play in a back three. And that's why you play Sandy Baltimore at left back. Like even last season, we saw with Baltimore playing left back, she was essentially playing as a wing back, as a hybrid left back. So clearly she sees Chelsea playing like this. And, the signing of Ellie Carpenter kind of supports that as well, where she is, I feel, much better going forward than she is, defending. And with those two weapons, with their pace, their delivery, and everything that they bring, it kind of points towards Chelsea wanting to play in a back three ideally. But again, I don't think they have the personnel to play in a back three against all teams, and kind of need to adapt better probably during in-game situations. But yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because there are scenarios where you feel like they need that cover. They almost need that extra player and they want the wing backs to be able to push high. But there are other games where it maybe doesn't feel necessary, but it's also when you do use the back three, you want your team to be comfortable playing in it. So it's this kind of, she's always sort of moving in between them because she doesn't want to use the back three and players not to be comfortable playing like that. And last season, I think we saw it as soon as Naomi Goma came in and was fit. It was kind of, okay, how soon can we move into the back three and start playing that way? But then at the start of this season, when Goma wasn't fit, Bonpastor really still wanted to use it. And I felt like, I agree with you. If you've got your dream personnel, back three is what you want. But if you've only got part of that, I don't think it works from a personnel point of view, and you almost put players in uncomfortable positions playing like that. But you do get the best out of Baltimore and Carpenter when you play them as wing backs. Even though Baltimore did, play quite well as a left back, like more traditional left back at times last season. If they can push high, Chelsea creates so many good opportunities. But we've seen in this game tonight, perfect example of how open they've been. We haven't really talked that much about City tonight, but I think they'll obviously be disappointed with their first half performance. But I've really enjoyed watching them this season, especially, we talk about wing backs and getting fullbacks high, but I love how aggressive Andre Yeglert sets up his team, especially, Kirsten Kasparais had a phenomenal season. And this is the way she's meant to play, right? Like if you think of, heat map wise, she is now being able to bomb so far up the pitch and get into really dangerous areas and set her team up for success. Maybe what City have kind of lacked at times is that kind of killer instinct in games, and maybe tonight is that perfect example. But you look at where they are at the top of the WSL and you can't really say that strongly. But in a game like this, you kind of look at it and say, oh, you're missing some big chances. But they have such a deep squad now, and they had such a good summer transfer window that I personally feel like the WSL is kind of theirs for the taking now, regardless of of tonight's result, and I guess we'll have to wait and see in a couple of weekends' time whether Chelsea can upset them and claw back some of that gap at the top of the WSL. Max, we're just seeing a bit of a halftime chat with Mark Skinner, but no sign of any changes for either side. Same for in the Chelsea City game. Sonia Bonpastor's having a bit of a halftime chat, but I guess the one we need to keep an eye out for is whether Viv Miedemar is maybe going to come off if the issue that she had at the end of the first half looks like it could be a problem. Max, any early subs that you'd like to see, or do you think stick it out until the sort of 60-minute mark?
Yeah, as mentioned, I think that's probably the more likely thing. I mean, maybe you bring on Kim Little a bit earlier just to settle things down in midfield. I mean, I don't necessarily think the midfield that have started tonight have been particularly bad. I think especially in terms of being able to release players in behind. I think that was a bit of a theme of the first half. So, but maybe, I think Kim just gives Arsenal a bit more control, and maybe that's something they'll be looking to have as the game goes on. But no, I think as we mentioned, I think with Rene Segers, you tend to know what you're going to get in terms of subs, and I imagine it will be those 60th minute changes again.
So Mark Skinner saying in his halftime chat, Max, that it was a stonewall penalty, which we definitely didn't agree with him there. And they are hoping to use the wind against Arsenal this half, which gives you an idea of the conditions at Meadow Park. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. I imagine he means how they hoof it and how the ball kind of goes back at them potentially. But they're just about to restart. Looks like they're slightly behind in the Arsenal game compared to Chelsea City. And Viv Miedemar is back out on the pitch. You can see her with her gloves, her trademark gloves. So it looks like she is okay after running down the tunnel in the first half. And again, it's a corner for Chelsea and a free kick in the end that City win. But she still hunched, Viv Miedemar, just after even the start of that corner that comes in. Yeah, she definitely doesn't look 100%. Well, she took a ball to the stomach, which will be why that'll definitely do that. So if she's already not feeling great, taking a ball to the stomach won't help. Okay, Arsenal game is back underway, and in terms of the Sonia halftime interview, she said that she wants her team to hold the ball better under pressure. We spoke about that, and be smart with how they manage the second half. So a bit of game management, be sensible, less of the calamity at the back that we saw in the first half. And yeah, Chelsea just don't look massively comfortable playing out from the back. We just see there Erin Cuthbert having to work a little bit hard to hold onto the ball there. But there's these short passes between Bright, Germer, Hampton. Just, yeah, everyone looks a little bit nervy, Ishan, which I feel like you don't normally see from Chelsea when playing out from the back. Is it just Kira Walsh not being there that means they don't have that anchor?
I think that definitely makes a big difference in terms of her always kind of knowing where to be. And she's just so, set in playing that position that she just knows where to be and where the danger might be. And is also such a good bounce pass option that, I don't think Chelsea have at the moment, like just those smart 1-2s and constantly moving. And again, I think the spacing in the midfield, I think there's too much space between Captain and Cuthbert. Obviously, right now when they're defending, they're close by, but like when they have the ball, there's just too much space, and City's press is so dangerous at the moment where Chelsea are constantly under pressure, so they don't have that time to kind of look up and play the right pass. But like in the moments where we saw Chelsea being dominant in the first half, they were able to play out through the press or in between the press. And I guess that's exactly what Sonia means. Like, plan A, as we spoke about, is clearly to be able to do this. And the moments that they've struggled most is when they've given the ball away cheaply or just not had the confidence to make those passes and just hoof it up long and the ball just not sticking.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a bit of a temptation. She's not Myra Ramirez, but there is a bit of temptation when you've got a Sam Kerr, like such traditional number 9, just to play direct. And oh, that looked like it was about to be the City equalizer. I'm starting to feel like it's not their night, Ishan. I really am. They've just what kind of voodoo has Sonia Bonpastor done at the Joy Stadium? Because City have just hit the post again. This time it was Kasparai, and she can't believe it. She can't believe it either. I think she must be feeling like, what are we going to have to do to score tonight? Again, Chelsea make a meal of it, don't clear it. Ball falls to Kasparai. She strikes it really well. She makes really good connection with it, but it bounces off the post and out. Again, an insane let-off for Chelsea. I just can't believe City haven't scored. But I guess the plus side for City is they must feel like, okay, we're winning the ball. We keep winning the ball from Chelsea in these dangerous areas. We're creating lots of chances. One of these is going to stick. Like, we can't, we've got still another 40 minutes here. We can't start to panic. But it's starting to feel like one of those nights. I don't know what you think, Ishan.
Yeah, I hope that at halftime, Sonia Bonpastor and Hannah Hampton both bought lottery tickets because this is clearly their night. But yeah, City look so dominant right now. And again, Chelsea just making mistakes, not being able to play out from the back, giving the ball away cheaply. And I thought that Kirsten Kasparai shot was definitely in. Very happy to see it come off the post. And, as we kind of watch, I don't know if that's the replay of the Miedema shot, but like City have a foothold in Chelsea's half right now and have penned them completely back. And the press intensity that we saw from City in the first half kind of wore off towards the end of the half, which is I think why Chelsea found it easier to play those passes and move up the field.
Hannah Hampton, big save from Hannah Hampton, and that was a tough set. Oh, it's off. Lino's flag for offside, but it was a tough header for Bunny Shaw. The cross comes in. I think it was Hemp who plays the ball. Yeah, Hemp with a really great ball into Bunny Shaw, who gets in behind Germa. But Shaw can't quite connect properly, so she heads the ball into the ground. But actually, that kind of catches Hampton off guard. She sort of judges it late and then tips it over, and then the Lino flag for offside. But again, just Chelsea feel a little bit sleepy, a little bit flat-footed.
Definitely.
And like you go,
yeah.
Ishan.
I was just going to say, like, even looking at Captain's positioning right now, like she is very advanced, where I think you need someone dropping deeper to kind of give you another option and create an overload in midfield, because City are completely dominating that part of the pitch and making it really difficult for Chelsea. So I think that's, whether it's a substitution or just a tactical tweak, I think that needs to happen soon, especially as Chelsea are building up. When Chelsea are well up the field, I'm more than happy for Captain to be, a very advanced number 10. But at the moment, like it's just not working in terms of the spacing in between the midfield.
Yeah, they need that player who can kind of relieve the pressure, and that's what Kira Walsh does so well. But also, they need someone who can be a bit of a ball carrier out of those high pressure areas, and we have seen Lauren James do that. And I wonder if maybe she's the player that Bonpastor will bring on, because she is so good at holding onto the ball in those tight spaces and traveling with it. And Chelsea are really struggling under the pressure from City at the moment, just to kind of build up in their own half a lot of those kind of desperate clearances again. Max, anything in these first 5 minutes from Arsenal? I can see there's been a few crosses into the box, but no real good chances yet.
Yeah, there's been a couple of half chances that have fallen to Frida and both have been off target. But again, probing. Just a dangerous cross there from Smith that almost was one of those cross-come shots that loops in. But yeah, I think it's more of what we saw at the start of the first half, really. Arsenal getting the ball wide, cutting the ball back, getting crosses into the box, and getting chances. And again, it just comes back to actually finishing these chances and putting the ball in the back of the net, because 2/3 of this Arsenal performance have been really good. But again, if you can't score, then that all counts for nothing. So yeah, frustrating, I think, but if encouraging that at least the chances themselves are coming. But again, Arsenal just got to keep doing this, keep up the momentum, and also, again, as we mentioned, they have that subs bench to potentially change things as well. So yeah, I think it's been a solid enough start to the half, and I think United this half very much setting out there still that they're just going to try and put players behind the ball and defend this lead. And given that they haven't conceded a goal against Arsenal this season, I suppose they'll be reasonably confident that that can continue.
Yeah, it doesn't look like United are going to commit that many bodies forward. I think they are just going to try and stay compact and defend this lead, which does make sense given the circumstances. But it's whether Arsenal can break them down, and we've seen Arsenal struggle so much, which leads me on to, Max, what I said we were going to chat about, because it's something you've written about so many times this season, whether it was in games against Brighton and Villa or in that game against Manchester United. Arsenal just have this season struggled to score and also put games away in key moments. What do you think the biggest factor is that's causing that?
So I think there are a couple of factors at play here. I mean, yeah, Arsenal are underperforming their XG in the WSL. That really contrasts with last season under Rene Segers, where obviously they were so free scoring, and when you score as many goals as Arsenal did last season, you are going to overperform your XG. So I wonder if a bit of that is just sort of like regression to the mean, if you like. But at the same time, I do think it is disappointing that Arsenal were this really free scoring team and seem to have turned a corner last season, at least in terms of the attacking side of the game. What that exactly is to is hard to say. I mean, sometimes you'll get a team that will just sort of run hot and cold, and it's about if we're still having these conversations in a couple of months' time, then I think that's even more concerning. I think the other thing, though, for Arsenal that you mentioned there, that for me anyway, I think is more concerning, is this thing of games where they've had momentum and they play well, maybe even score, and then they seem to inexplicably lose momentum afterwards. So yeah, like Brighton game, good example of that. Liverpool at home was very similar. Scored, went 1-0 up, and then sort of out of nowhere just sort of stopped playing. I think that's something they've got to stop doing. And even tonight, again, they start the game really well. United come back into it. So it's hard to say why it is, but it just feels sometimes there'll be matches, where maybe a team figures them out mid-game. Another chance there for Russo. But yeah, it seems like they get sometimes the team will figure them out mid-game and they then struggle to regain momentum. I'd say I think tonight it's encouraging that they have, at the start of this half, again, they do have the momentum in the match, they are creating chances. But yeah, you've got to be scoring them. And another thing I think in this scenario is when you start missing chances, I think then it becomes psychological. It becomes more of a thing, if you like, and then it becomes harder to sort of find that goal scoring form again. So sometimes you just need one to go in, however that can be. I mean, against Villa at the weekend, they were wasting chances and they scored twice in quick succession. So, but yeah, it's an issue and it's something that they need to fix. Because I think we saw, as much as like when Arsenal was struggling to score under Jonas, yes, chance creation was an issue, but there were also, again, games where they couldn't finish. So seeing that form return is a bit of a worry.
Yeah, a lot of it does feel like a confidence issue and a tension that kind of starts to feed into games when they start chasing things a little bit. Ishan, 2 big chances for City. Again, they didn't take them. First one, a header from Grace Clinton that's wide. And then the second one was at Blinkilda Brown or Alex Greenwood with that shot that
I think it was Alex Greenwood.
In the end, it was a pretty simple save for Hannah Hampton. But it was Chelsea. I don't know who the Chelsea player was that slipped on the ball that created that opportunity for City, because Hemp kind of picks up the loose ball, because I think it might have been Nuskin slipped. And again, just Chelsea really sloppy in possession. And City are creating good chances, but it feels like Chelsea is sort of gifting them these opportunities. Miedemar is through on goal and just misses the target. Oh my
great save
God.
from Hampton, that one.
Did she touch it? Is it being given as a corner? Okay, I thought she'd hit it wide. God, one of these has got to go. And City took the corner really quickly and ended up Miedemar heading wide, so it'll be a goal kick. But I just can't believe it. I mean, I think you could see a little bit of frustration. Oh, okay, we're going to get the substitution. Lauren James is going to come on. Sam Kerr is walking off slowly, which might be part legit injury or part a bit of time wasting. But I do think that is a smart change from Sonia Bonpastor. What do you think, Ishan?
Yeah, it's a change we spoke about not too long ago, where, you know, if you're struggling to hold the ball and even carry the ball, if you can't pass through the press, the only other way to beat the press is by running through them. And we know how good Lauren James is at doing that. And I won't be surprised if, you know, she's dropping very deep into the midfield and helping, you know, Chelsea progress, because they've really struggled to get past City's press and just been very sloppy in general. I think that last chance for Alex Greenwood really showed that, where Chelsea just lost the ball immediately. And of course, Lauren James, the first thing she does is also lose the ball. But, you know, all's well that ends well, and Hannah Hampton, the ball at her feet now. But yeah, Chelsea really just have to get a foothold, because the more mistakes they make, the more confidence builds in that City team, where they know that, you know, just keep going, keep pressing. Chances are coming. It's just a matter of time until the goal comes. So yeah, I'm glad to see that change. Hopefully that brings at least some form of control to the game to Chelsea. But the bar is very low right now in the second half. But let's see how Lauren James and the kind of impact that she makes right now.
And Chelsea just put out that is 100 appearances for Lauren James. So maybe it'll be a memorable night for her. Arsenal free kick whipped in, but Max, it's Stina time. She came on slightly earlier than the 60-minute mark, but just before. And we can see her already trying to make those runs in behind. But there is a bit of a Liv Smith battle happening, because as is typically, Liv Smith has just been sent off. She's got a second yellow card. She's slowly walking off the pitch. So I think this is kind of typical frustration, which is, you know, obviously really tough for her. But she'd been knocked down several times in this game. She's already on a yellow card, and she comes in really late. I think that's on Zigiote Oma. She comes in really late on her and picks up a second yellow for that challenge. So Liv Smith has been sent off. So I was about to talk about the fact that she had spent the first part of this second half being chopped down, which often does happen to her. We know that's the sort of player she is, and that she finds those pocket spaces. She can really frustrate opposition players, and she does win a lot of free kicks, and she's a player that has a lot of fouls against her. But in the, you know, Anna Sandberg had just picked up a yellow card for a challenge on Smith. Then Smith's fouled again on the edge of the box as Arsenal get another free kick. But then what happens is Smith gets frustrated and ends up doing a late challenge on Zigiote Oma, and she's sent off. So now Arsenal are playing with 10 men, Max. That is really going to change things.
Yeah, and I think especially frustrating because it's Olivia Smith. Obviously, implication, but I think that's a domestic ban. She'll miss the game again at Stamford Bridge on the weekend, which is so frustrating because just one of Arsenal's best players, and even tonight, been causing United so many problems. I think that yellow comes sort of as, and again, like young player and the implement there maybe an issue, but that yellow almost stems from her getting cleaned out a couple of minutes earlier. And I do think it's she'll be disappointed with that. I do think it kind of comes back to maybe a lack of protection she gets from referees sometimes, where we've seen many times this season she'll get kicked off the pitch. And yeah, I mean, it's just, but I think the yellow, it's a bit petulant. It's a clear as a yellow card as you're going to see. To be honest, I don't remember what the first yellow was for. But the second one, I think if you're on a yellow card, you can't be doing that. It's a moment of frustration from a young player. And it'll be interesting now to see how the dynamic of the game changes, because obviously this is the reverse of the scenario we saw in the game at the Emirates. Do United go for it a bit more now? I mean, you know, they've got the lead. They're under no obligation to score, but they are sort of sitting in, and it looks like they are going to make a change as well now. So, yeah, maybe United now try and go and get a second. But yeah, that's really frustrating for Arsenal, especially given that not just a red card, but for one of their best performers on the night, and also going forward to the game against Chelsea. So yeah, difficult, and it'll be interesting to see how Sega's readjusts now. I imagine maybe the later the game. So
I was just going to say, I do feel like the game was it was getting to a tense moment in those sort of 5-10 minutes just leading up to the red card, because there'd been a few spicy challenges, and I think that's frustrating for Smith, because she is one of those players who gets, roughed up a little bit, and then showing maybe perhaps that inexperience, she picks up that second yellow, which I agree with you, Max, it was definitely a yellow. Jade Rivier's just receiving some treatment for Manchester United. She's off the pitch at the moment, so they might have to make a change as well. I guess if we think about in the game context, Arsenal still have Russo on the pitch. They've obviously still got Sina Blackstenius, so they've lost that that kind of out ball. Smith had actually, I think, moved on to the left-hand side, hadn't she, Max, for the second half? They'd switched her and a Ford over, but that is frustrating because she was having a really good game as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, especially because she was, I think, exploiting a bit of a weakness in this United side that we've seen tonight, which is that they seem to be, Arsenal were getting them down the flanks. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal do readjust, because it's probably a little bit too early in the game now, but maybe if it's, with 10 minutes to go, if it's still 1-0, maybe you take off a defender and bring on a forward, and then at least like that imbalance of numbers from an attacking perspective is sort of readjusted. But for now, I think Arsenal just got to keep their heads. Unusual, also just a bit of an unusual situation for them, because can't remember the last time they were reduced to 10 players in a game. So yeah, they've just quickly got to readjust now, and I think try and continue playing on the front foot as much as they can. But it is going to be difficult. I mean, we saw in the league game that the red cards didn't really affect much, just because of the way. Just looking close shot there from Mariana. It didn't really change the direction of the game, because in that occasion United sort of just remained compact in their defensive block. I think this time the difference is that Arsenal are losing a forward when they're really going for it. But I think these last couple of minutes, at least, the way they've responded to the red card is encouraging. They're still playing their football. They're still creating chances. And they've just really becomes even more important now that they're clinical, which unfortunately is something that you can't say of their recent performances.
Yeah, it looks like Taylor Hines has basically become the right winger now as an extra option, and moved very high up the pitch, and they're kind of moving towards a bit of a back three, as I guess Ford will sort of try and drop back and support McCabe. But yeah, they're going to have their work cut out a little bit on that side. Ishan, another good save from Hannah Hampton, tipped over a shot. But the pressure has it eased a little bit on Chelsea in these last few minutes, or do you feel like City is still creating more pressure?
Yeah, no, the introduction of Lauren James has worked kind of as we thought it would, where not only is she coming deep and kind of helping Chelsea progress the ball, but she's winning important fouls deep in their half to kind of release the pressure that we were seeing that was being built by Man City and their press. But both keepers actually making very good saves. Hampton off of Hasegawa, and then Yamashita from a Baltimore shot, which was struck very, very well as well, which Lauren James started that move. And also a really funny moment where Chelsea had a corner from that resulting from that shot, and played it. Worked kind of a good routine where they cleared a lot of space to Baltimore and kind of played it sort of short, but like in a way where she could like run onto it and take a good strike, and the referee just got completely in the way, and she had to kind of push her away, which is kind of a funny moment. But yeah, as you can see, Chelsea being able to get up the pitch and play through City's press, and Lauren James, ooh, with the block shot right now, and yeah, Chelsea again for the first time in the second half have finally got a foothold in this game and got control again, and will be hoping that they can see it out for another 20 minutes. I do think that there's going to be at least one more goal in this game, the way it's kind of playing out, and it's only going to get more open the more Man City keep pressing and kind of become more open as well. So yeah, it looks like a very interesting 20 minutes ahead.
Yeah, it does look like that Lauren James sub has done well, because Chelsea just look a bit calmer on the ball, and she's just so good at holding onto it, and also kind of finding those spaces and playing in dangerous balls, or even just taking on the shot. Yeah, so it looks like Chelsea are kind of benefiting from that change, and no change yet from Arsenal after that Smith red card. It looks like maybe Slogger's just waiting to see how things pan out. But another yellow card picked up for United. Mayor Letitia just got booked. And it does feel like the game's got a bit of a scrappy edge to it just before that red card and after that red card. It's getting a little bit feisty out there. And United will probably have to play like that if they are going to hold out this game. And because you imagine, especially, there tends to be, Max, that period in the last sort of 5-10 minutes where Arsenal do really kind of bombard the opposition with crosses or chances. So United are going to have to withstand that. They did it well at the Emirates. Some of the quality of those chances weren't great, but you do feel like that is inevitably coming at some point in this game from Arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. Like you mentioned, we saw that at the Emirates. And I think the encouraging thing about that is that I think Arsenal have been, that's sort of the way Arsenal tried to play from the off tonight. Obviously now with 10, it makes it harder. But you can kind of see even since the red card, the game plan hasn't really changed. They're still trying to dominate as much as they can. Obviously, the difference now is when United have the ball in their own half, like they do now, it's harder to apply that pressure to them just because there are gaps that they can exploit. And I think United at the moment just look to be slowing the game down, which I think is exactly what you do in this scenario. You ideally dominate the game, but you do it by keeping the ball. Like if I'm Mark Skinner right now, I'm trying not to give Arsenal any encouragement. But I do think that the Arsenal responded since the red has been good. But yeah, like you say, it's a weird one where obviously they want to equalise, but at the same time, if you can just get to like the 80th, 85th minute at 1-0, and then you can really throw the kitchen sink at it. And if you can see the second one, so be it. But that's almost the way Arsenal will got to approach it if it can get to that point.
Yeah, we've just seen Melvin Mallard come on for Zigiote Olmer. So another sign that United are going to want to try and play direct, and if they do get the ball, try and play in Melvin Mallard behind on the break. But actually, Arsenal looking quite good from a turnover opportunity now, but it's hard for United when they've got that player advantage because it makes it that much easier to defend. And then you've got Melvin Mallard now carrying the ball out, which is exactly what United want. But Arsenal kind of deal with it quite easily. So yeah, I'm surprised we still haven't seen a change, Max, because that's been probably about 10 minutes since that sending off. So it obviously feels like her team is still in control. They're not under pressure. They're the ones that have to try and find a goal. So the onus is on them a little bit. But yeah, I just wonder if she would want to bring on someone like Kim Little, or are there other attacking changes that she could maybe make?
Yeah, I do think it's difficult in a situation where they've sort of adjusted the shape slightly since the red card, where, like you mentioned, Hines going further, pushing a bit higher up, Kate McCabe coming into midfield. And I think sometimes there's a temptation almost, there's an easy temptation to make a sub, but sometimes if you're playing well, you can sometimes risk destabilizing the team with subs. And actually, I think in the league game when Caitlin Ford came on for Olivia Smith, and then United are the ones reduced to 10 a few minutes later, I think that's an example of where actually sometimes not making the sub can be helpful. But I suppose the other thing, just as United cat on here,
we're seeing a change now, Max, actually.
Yeah.
Melvin Mallard just had a chance, exactly like we kind of anticipated. She should have hit the target, really. She should have done better with that. But we're seeing a double change now from Arsenal, Kim Little and Holmberg going on. So this does feel like the real kind of kitchen sink moment. These are her two most attacking options. And this is the way that they're going to try and get back into this game. Ishan, I saw you sort of wincing over there because Chelsea just had a big chance, didn't they?
I mean, I wish with the confidence with which Sandy Baltimore is playing, I wish Chelsea's backline gave me that kind of confidence, because she is absolutely on fire at the moment, forcing an incredible save from Yamashita again. And just the skills that she's putting on display right now is really fun to watch. Really fun to see like a left back doing that. But of course, we know how talented she is. But yeah, she's been probably Chelsea's best player on the night so far. And if Chelsea do end up winning 1-0, like defensively as well, she's been so important. So I'm just watching Sandy Baltimore playing and smiling at that. But again, it seems like this game has been played in 15-minute intervals where each team is just taking moments to dominate. But at the end of halftime, or at the beginning of the second half, City had their 15 minutes. Chelsea have just finished their 15 minutes, and there's 15 minutes to go. And I'm getting a little worried now that it's going to be the City 15 minutes that are to come rather than another Chelsea 15 minutes. So, really cool, interesting 15 minutes to come.
Yeah, you do feel like there is going to be a period in which City really put the pressure on Chelsea because they're going to be chasing a goal. That intense period has got to be coming at some point in these last, because we're down to the last 15 minutes now. So you feel like it's coming at some point, and then maybe Chelsea might be frustrated that they didn't manage to take that chance, albeit it was a very good save. But because City are looking a little bit frustrated now as well, and we haven't actually seen, I don't think we've seen any changes yet for City.
Yeah,
I'll just double check and
Laura Coombs came on, I think.
Oh, looking at my FOTMob, I haven't seen. Oh no, she has. Yeah.
She
Okay,
came
so
on
Laura.
shortly after Lauren James. I think the thinking is to, just about how City were controlling that midfield, and Lauren James obviously coming on to help Chelsea battle that. And I think maybe Laura Coombs coming on to help City even, further that and continue to dominate the midfield. Has worked in Chelsea's favor so far, but as we saw just now, Kirsten Kasparai getting another good chance, firing it over the bar. So City are very much in this game. Chelsea are looking more and more dangerous on the counter as City send more bodies forward, obviously with Alyssa Thompson there. But then also when you look at the bench, Aggie Beaver-Jones, we spoke about her pace, and back fit again. What better way to come off the bench and potentially impact the game. But also someone like Guro Reiten who can, pick out that pass from deeper as well. So quality on Chelsea's bench that they haven't had to dip into yet, other than Lauren James. But I do think that another substitution is just around the corner.
Yeah, a few tired legs out there, I think, for Chelsea. And City is still playing it around really nicely around the box. I mean, Lauren Hemp, she's just unbelievably athletic. Like, she just ran all the way to the halfway line, nicked the ball off, I think it was Captine, played in Kirsten Kasperai, and then eventually they could there was a bit of a 1-2, but they couldn't really create anything from it. But just the intensity that City is still playing with at this point in the game, with nearly their best 11 at this point in the season. Yes, they haven't been playing the Champions League, but they still look very fresh. Whereas I do think we're starting to see a bit of tiredness from Chelsea here, although that was a great run from Alyssa Thompson that Lauren James just couldn't get to. Max, any impact from these Arsenal subs, Holmberg and Little, that came on?
There was a good run and cross from Holmberg a couple of minutes ago, but no one could get on the end of it. Now just coming down the right at the moment, and Stina's in the middle. She's gone for goal and just blasted it over. But she's getting in good positions and, showing us that sort of that forward. And you can kind of see, I think, in that chance just there where basically she sort of, I'm not sure if it's a cross or a shot in the end that she's really trying, but she blasts it over the bar. You do wonder if a bit more experience, maybe she pulls that back across goal for Stina, who was in the box. But she's getting into positions and she runs, and I think that's something for Arsenal. And with her and Stina on the pitch now, you've got two players who are going to try and stretch the pitch. And and I mean, I think as this goes on, Arsenal, as they're doing, are just going to have to go for it. And, if they, as I say, that's going to leave them open to counter-attacks, but, you might as well go out with regrets. And, I still think even with it being 10 against 11, I think this is poised very well for the last 10 minutes. Yeah,
we're just ticking into the last 10 in both games. Chelsea are just making a sub now. Guro Reiten is coming on for Schuska-Nusken, and that's probably one of the last sort of attacking, or I suppose it's more controlling, they want changes. You've still got JRK on the bench for Chelsea, but it does look like they are just trying to bring a bit more energy on the pitch as they try and keep City at bay. But you've still got Beaver Jones, JRK, and then you've got some younger players in Berman and Potter on the bench. But Brighton is the kind of player as well, perfect if Chelsea is still going to just try and play on the break and create something on the counter-attack. Arsenal, I can see getting into the little bit of potentially desperate stage. I wouldn't say Manchester United look on the ropes yet, which if you're an Arsenal fan and you're entering into the last 10 minutes of a game that you're chasing, you would maybe want to see a little bit more, like, better quality chances. There are a lot of hopeful crosses, Max, into the box, of which not many are actually finding a target.
Yeah, and a lot of black shirts between Arsenal and the United goal. I think sometimes these situations, I do think Arsenal sometimes lack that sort of cuteness to just unpick a defence. But it is hard against the low block. I mean, there are crosses coming in, and at the moment they're not falling to Arsenal players, and United are getting it away. But look, I think if this is the shape the game takes for the last 10 minutes, I think the player down, I'd probably take that, because United, again, just sort of sinking into their block and giving Arsenal the impetus. And, if they hold on, that's all well and good. But I do think maybe they're giving a little bit too much encouragement to the team when they have the extra player, and, if they want to, they can go out and kill this game. But yeah, I think it is inevitably going to get a bit desperate from Arsenal. But I think this is sometimes what happens when you get to this sort of a stage in the game, especially in the circumstances of them being down to 10.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Arsenal looked very comfortable. There was only that one Mallard chance where she hit it over rather than hitting the target. That was the only real opportunity on the break that United have had since Arsenal lost Liv Smith to a red card. But there's space for Arsenal. They're getting Holmberg, especially since she came on, is getting some really nice areas. We've just seen her have a shot that got blocked and has gone out for a corner. That's probably the best moment she's had so far since coming on, because so often she's taken the outside channel and decided to cross in, and her crosses haven't been particularly accurate so far. Whereas that time she decided to come inside and she got
great
a lot
Russo
more
as
luck.
well, the build up.
So Arsenal do have a corner now to try and get something. Falls to Mariona and United deal with it. Just looking at the City-Chelsea game, Ishan, City still pushing. They've got a corner now, but Chelsea they're running around frantically, but they are actually managing to find space to try and counterattack still.
Yeah, we're in the end game now. Viv Miedema's gloves are off, so
It's getting serious.
serious business is about to begin. City had the corner over, but it's been very interesting to see that even though Guro Reiten has come on for Nuskin, on paper you'd think that's an attacking sub, maybe a change in shape in some form, but she's just slotted into that Nuskin midfield role, which has been quite interesting, rather than Captain maybe going deeper. But yeah, the intent, we saw a couple of attempted through balls from Guro, one to Lauren James, who was offside. So the intent is to get her the ball and have Alyssa Thompson and Lauren James running in front of her. She hasn't had too many opportunities to pull it off yet, but clearly the intent is there, and Chelsea's game plan is clear. Try and soak up the pressure and hit City on the counter. I still do think they might bring on another late sub in Berman, or maybe even Lexi Potter if they feel like another big body in midfield. But yeah, City, as all game, haven't been able to penetrate and take their chances, and right now aren't even getting many chances. So that's good signs for Chelsea. Long may it continue.
Yeah, the Chelsea press tonight has not felt like it has much organization or trigger to it. It is just chase the ball, chase whoever has the ball, and try and stop them from doing anything. And in the second half, I guess it's kind of worked at times, but it's been quite chaotic to watch, Ishan.
Yeah, I think there's a big risk as well from their point of view, where you've already seen how great Bunny Shaw is in behind against those two older centre backs of Chelsea. So there's not so much intent to press extremely high and leave all that space behind. So they've been very happy to most of the time let the centre backs have the ball and move forward, and try and mitigate that long ball, which caused so many problems in the first half and probably created the City's two biggest chances of the game so far. So yeah, I think the press hasn't been great. There's no getting away from that, especially when you see how good City's press has been. Like, the stark difference between the two has definitely been on display. But Chelsea winning the ball back in midfield right now, and Thompson's on her way. And again, it's those counter-attacking opportunities that Lauren James sadly was not able to put the ball in the net, or Thompson's pass probably wasn't good enough. But that's how the rest of this game is going to go. City are throwing bodies forward, throwing everything that they have at it to kind of nick a goal, send this game to extra time, and Chelsea are up for it so far.
Yeah, so we've had two big substitutions for the chasing teams. We've seen Alessia Russo come off and Beth Mead come on, which really does feel like the final roll of the dice for Slagers. And then we've seen Aman Benny come on for City, who are also chasing a goal in this game. And we're coming up to the last couple of minutes, and Chelsea are making another sub. Johanna Ritten-Kaneryd is coming on for Alyssa Thompson. So definitely they want to try and still keep some energy on that wing. And Thompson did look knackered because she'd been doing a hell of a lot of running. So yeah, City trying to push to find an equaliser and have just forced a save from Hampton. I wouldn't say it was like a really good save. It was kind of a customary save from her, but Hemp trying to sort of like dink it in, and Hampton pushes it away well for a City corner. Yeah, City really trying to find something in these last few minutes, as are Arsenal. But I'm struggling to see where that goal is going to come for either side, because both those teams that are defending these leads look quite comfortable. Chelsea looked far more under the caution, under pressure in those moments in the first half than they have really looked at all in the second half, bar that Kasparai chance that hit the post. But they've still got work to do because City are really going to push in these last few minutes. But it's been, I mean, I'm going to have a look at the stats now, Max, for possession for Arsenal in the second half, but it feels like United have really had hardly any of the ball, which isn't necessarily surprising. But yeah, 61% possession for Arsenal, 17 shots, 3 of them on target, 2 big chances missed. If they don't find a goal in these next few minutes and take it to extra time, it could be another one of those nights at Meadow Park.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even since the red card, again, Arsenal have kind of been on top. And I think you're seeing like the impact of Blackstenia sort of stretching the pitch. And it's been just in the last couple of minutes, a couple of nearly moments where the ball hasn't quite dropped. But yeah, a really frustrating night. I think especially having gone down to 10, you wonder how this might have looked with 11. But even with 10 players, the fact that they've been able to continue to put the pressure on United, this does, if it is United to go through to the final, it does feel like a bit of an opportunity missed, just because, to be honest, I think United have been pretty poor tonight, especially in the circumstances of having an extra player for the last 30 minutes. But yeah, again, it's that sort of the struggles against people, which we've seen in the past, and struggling and just not finishing their chances. It's a real frustration, I think.
So we're into 4 minutes of added time in the City-Chelsea game, and we are just about to see, I'm just waiting to see the graphic. I don't think they've said 6. Thanks, Max. 6 minutes of added time at Meadow Park, which gives Arsenal a bit more hope, trying to find an equaliser. Chelsea are doing some fantastic time wasting. They've got the ball in the corner. It's Carpenter and Lauren James having a bit of a kickabout and hitting the ball against City players to win a corner again, which they've done successfully. So they've already eaten up 2 minutes of the 4. So I think it's going to be really hard for City to try and create someone in these last few minutes. But Arsenal, you feel like they've just got to throw everything now. They've just got to commit as many people forward as they can. United will happily just keep making it scrappy. The ball's been in the air a lot as well, which, Skinner referenced at halftime, trying to play to the wind and use the conditions. And I suppose, just not letting Arsenal play is definitely part of that. Could this be one last chance for City? Ball comes in and it's just misses again. Oh my God. Viv Miedemar cannot believe it, because she's basically played a part in every single missed chance that City have had tonight. She picks up the ball on the right-hand side. Germa is shuffling. The ball comes across Hampton's goal. All is needed is the tiniest touch or a flick to put it in the back of the net. But Hemp's already ahead of the ball almost, and it rolls across, and she doesn't get there. And Miedemar can't believe it. I mean, she's been doing classic Miedemar huffing and puffing and swearing and arm throwing, as we love from her character. But, oh my God, she's going to be fuming at herself, at her teammates tonight, because They could have had 3, Ishan. There's been so many good chances. I mean, we won't see, not sure if we're going to get XG tonight, because often we sometimes don't for these cup competitions. But I'd love to see what City's final XG is for this game tonight, because it feels like they've had so many chances. That was another escape for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about stats, the possession stats will be quite even, I imagine. But that XG, if we do get our hands on that, that'll show, I think, the real story of how dominant City have been in the final third in terms of creating big chances. Chelsea haven't created many big chances, but again, if you don't take your chances, you're never going to win football games. And Chelsea will be counting themselves very lucky, even just to get to extra time, even if City do end up scoring. Like this, as you said, 3 hitting the post, Miedema having a big chance now. There was another big chance earlier. It could have been 3, 4, 5 for City. And when you talk about psychological impact as well, Chelsea just got through to the final for the 7th
There
time in
you
a row.
go. So full-time whistle at the Joy Stadium, and that means Chelsea are through to a League Cup final again. They've been on an unbelievable run in this competition. We know that they haven't always had success. They did beat City last season, but they obviously had those defeats to Arsenal previously. It ended up, I think, looking at the stats, 3 big chances missed for City, and I think that stat tells you everything you need to know. There were points in this game where Chelsea looked like they had no chance. City were all over them, created more than enough to win the game. One dangerous corner that City don't deal with, and a Vika Kaptein header, and that sends them through. The expectation, I guess, because Chelsea did what they did last season, Ishan, is that they do get through to these cup finals. But given where City are at this point in the season and the way that they played tonight, they're going to be absolutely gutted that they haven't gone through.
Yeah, totally. I mean, more than the result, I'm surprised that Chelsea were able to scam a clean sheet out of that. When you look at, like, if someone hasn't watched and just looks at the result, they'll be like, "Oh, probably another dominant Chelsea win." Not even close. This is, Chelsea will consider themselves very lucky to be playing 90 minutes and getting through to the final. But at the end of the day, the result is all that matters. And we've seen Chelsea haven't been pretty at all to watch this season in many parts, but we've seen them grind out, especially these 1-0 wins. I think the 1-0 win is the most common Sonia Bompasta result since she's taken over for Chelsea. So, I mean, yeah, even if they got very, very lucky today, clearly, they were also able to have a good game and limit City to less than 3 big chances and not more than that. So yeah, they'll take the positives from today, and the performances of Sandy Baltimore, having Lauren James back and showing kind of what she can do, and take those 3 points, and or not 3 points, but the cup final, and get back to London as soon as they can, knowing full well that they've just pulled off a heist.
Yeah, and they've got play Arsenal at home on Saturday, and then they've got City in a couple of weeks' time away, which is the title decider. But I wouldn't say today was the blueprint of how to beat City. They have very much scammed this result. We're seeing the scenes in the centre circle now. Sonia Bompastor, understandably very chuffed. We're seconds away. Oh, there we go. Full-time whistle has gone at Meadow Park, Max. Those last few minutes as the game was concluding at Joy Stadium, I was looking at the match, and Arsenal didn't really create anything in those last few minutes. United did really well to kind of park the ball down in Arsenal's half, but it is disappointing how the second half just really fizzled out for them.
Yeah, I think United got a corner in like the 94th minute, and I think that was about it, because after then they did really well just to keep the ball away from Arsenal. And I do wonder why they didn't do that earlier in the game, because I think they probably might have been a bit more, it could have been more confident if they'd done that. But yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, I do obviously think the red card has a big impact here in how Arsenal can finish the game, and I think that's probably the moment in the match that they will look at as the most sort of frustrating. But yeah, again, it's another game where on paper you should, I'm not sure what the final shot count was, but it wasn't as if United weren't peppering the Arsenal goal, and I think when you have that many shots, I'm just looking 21 shots to 6 for Arsenal, 14 of those in the second half, of which quite a significant chunk of they played a player down. So I think the frustrating thing is you don't convert those chances, because I think the narrative is very different. If one of those goes in, I think we're talking about a really good Arsenal performance, especially in the circumstances of having a red card against them. But if you don't put the chances in the net, this is going to happen. And for Arsenal to come away with 3 games against Manchester United this season, failing to score a goal, especially considering certainly in 2 of those, they've been the ones that have really taken the game to United. I think that's immensely disappointing. But yeah, it seems like kind of almost like both semi-finals, I think, were maybe slightly against the run of play tonight. But yeah, just a shame that Arsenal, I think, again, just couldn't unpick that United defence. I think there was a lot, that familiar sight I think we've seen like in Arsenal games where there's a lot of pressure in the box, a lot of players forward, just being unable to actually unpick that defence. So yeah, I think that will be, for Renee Sagers, one of the most frustrating nights of the season, because I would suspect she'll be happy with aspects of her team's performance and probably quite proud of how they actually battled with 10 men to still like stay on top. But again, I'm not sure how many times now it's been the season that Arsenal failed to score, but it's quite a few games where this has happened. And when you think back to last season where they had this record at home where they were scoring 4 or 5 goals every game, I think that drop off is a big issue. But now going into a game at Stamford Bridge at the weekend, I think maybe the psychological blow of losing the game tonight in the manner they've done will sting. And also the sort of the more immediate problem of now having Olivia Smith unavailable to them, I think that's pretty massive for that game. And it'll be interesting to see what Renee Sagers says after this game and how Arsenal regroup for that massive game on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see Damien put in the chat about another United game for Chelsea in the Cup. So obviously Chelsea have drawn United in the next round of the FA Cup. They played them in FA Cup final. They've played them in 2 FA Cup finals now. So it never ends being drawn Chelsea United. Sorry. So that is our Subway Cup final. It's going to be Chelsea versus Manchester United. It's going to be at Bristol City's Ashton Gate Stadium on March 15th. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Max, Ishan, thank you so much for joining us for our first ever watch along. I hope everyone that tuned in really enjoyed it. We're definitely going to do more. It was really enjoyable. It was slightly chaotic trying to follow both games, but I really enjoyed being able to kind of tap into each and follow along the journey. So yeah, thank you to everyone that joined us, and we'll see you again soon.